Okay, I'm going to call the meeting of Middleton Plan Commission for November 8th, 2022 to order. And the first item, Abby, is the roll call.
Bruce,
Here.
Erdman Hermans,
Here.
Harp,
Here.
Schaefer,
Here.
Slavish,
Here.
and Mayor Brar is present. Alderman Ramsey is absent.
All right, great. Okay, so the next is the approval of the minutes of, it's from 10/11/22. So we didn't have enough people to approve last time, so need a motion to approve. Okay, I make a motion. Okay, so motion by Slavish, I second it. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes of October 11th, 2022, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed or abstaining?
Bruce is abstaining.
Okay, so motion passes 5 and 1 abstaining. So the next is the Plan Commission minutes of October 25th, 22. So need a motion to approve.
Schaefer approves or moves.
Okay, I will go ahead and second it. So let's have any question, comments, or changes? From what I could tell, it all looked good. So, okay, so all those in favor of the motion to approve the Plan Commission minutes of October 25th, 2022, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passed. We are on to item number 1, design review revisions. This is a chain link fence for Kingdom Kids Child Care 1600 North High Point Road. And this is going to be Daphne or Abby. So
Yes.
let's hear.
Yeah, this is an application for a 4-foot tall chain link fence along High Point Road. So it's the building right now that's being renovated on the exterior that will include tailored engineering and then also Kingdom Kids Child Care. We're very excited about the new child care facility that's coming to town. We've spoken with the applicant. It sounds like it's going to be a great project. Our concern is that typically we wouldn't allow a chain link fence. The plan commissioners probably recall the recent discussions with a couple of other applicants, Cool Hand Customs and also Madison Fence Company in the business park, that had proposed chain link. And we worked with both of those applicants to come up with another solution. And so that would be our recommendation here as well, consistent with past practice. But I would like to also note that the applicant is here on the meeting and may wish to speak.
Okay, so Lisa and anyone else, you may speak at this time. So.
Okay, first of all, thank you all for being patient with us during the meeting. Thank the gentleman that helped us through the process of getting on Zoom. I understand with the chain link fence that I understand that can be a big issue. And I too will want to do something different. But here's the deal. The project that I'm working with is costing me a lot of extra money. And right now, I don't have the funding to put it in as of right now. I am willing to put it in along the way if I can have time to do so. But being able to use the snow fence as a temporary fence.
So, so Abby, can you work with them to find with the best and the cheapest possible option? Of course, it has to look good. I mean, you know, it's a long-term thing. And I have a question for Lisa. So the owners, and Abby, you would know too, would the owners could be expected to help out with the fence because there's a permanent feature, so it should be the owner's responsibility, right?
The building owners are not, they're putting money towards the building renovation to get Lisa's project and business up and running. So they're putting money towards the interior renovation of the project.
Be too bad if it were just a faulty phone.
So well, let's hear from the commissioners. So, okay, John, go ahead, please.
Yeah, first of all, I agree with Abby. I think it's fabulous to have another daycare center in place. And I think it's, you know, if I have a general concern, it's that this is a heavy traffic area on 3 of the 4 sides of that building. I am not personally concerned about the view to the neighbors across the street because they're up the hill and there's a lot of trees shading that. I am concerned about the children and the traffic and the noise and the visibility of all the cars. I go by there many times every day. And so I'm strongly in favor of doing this. I'm strongly in favor of having a fence that's not a chain link fence. Also, as a teenager who is not probably the best teenager, chain link fences aren't very secure either. They're easy to climb one way or another. So I guess I strongly support this, but I'm concerned about the children and the traffic. And I really would like to see some visibility issue taken care of so the kids are not out there dealing with the traffic. And I think that personally, this doesn't have to be done instantly. It just has to be on the plan to move it so that the kids have a great place to play where they're not bombarded with the traffic.
Thank you, John. Any of the other commissioners? I think this is Gretchen. Please go ahead.
I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other about chain link, but I would just like to point out that all of the grade schools have chain link fences, and it doesn't seem to cause any problem with the neighbors in those neighborhoods. So we went to Northside Elementary and we still go up there to like fly our remote control airplanes and kick around balls and swing on the swings. And we walk through the neighborhoods. There's outlets through those fences to the other neighborhood, and we've always enjoyed it. It has not ever felt like an eyesore. So if I agree that the safety of the kids is the most important thing. 4 feet kind of seems short, but yeah, I would not hold the project back if it needs to be chain linked now. I think that aesthetics in this situation isn't nearly as important as the safety of the kids and making it functional and getting in a needed service for the community, which is daycare.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Gretchen. And the next one is Randy Bruce.
Yeah, I just I'm supportive of the use as well. Obviously, this is a great thing for downtown Middleton, but we have a bit of an issue that you know that our zoning does not allow the chain link fence there, and I would agree with Abby. I think we want to be consistent in how we treat people, and having staff work with the applicant to find a good solution to this makes sense to me. I would support that.
Okay, so do you want to make that motion then, Bruce?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll move that the applicant work with city planning staff to come to a good solution for the required fencing.
Schaefer will second.
Okay, any further questions or comments?
I was wondering, until this gets resolved, Lisa would like to get her childcare center up and running and use a temporary plastic fence. DCF has no issue with it as long as it's 4 foot high. That's where the 4 foot high comes from, is a DCF requirement.
Yeah.
They'll find that acceptable. The building owners will find a 4 foot high temporary fence acceptable until a permanent solution can be resolved. Can we get a few months of using the temporary fence so Lisa can get her business up and running?
I personally, I'm fine with that. I want the safety of the kids, and that's all that really matters. But I want the kids there, and I think it's a great idea. So I support it.
May I
Okay,
speak?
Randy? Excuse me, just.
Yeah, I'll make a friendly amendment that we provide for the use of a temporary fence for a period of no more than 90 days while the applicant's working with staff.
Okay,
I'll, as seconder, I'll accept that amendment.
okay. Okay,
May I
so,
make an observation, Mayor?
yes, go
This is
ahead.
Mark. 90 days from now is February and it's still winter.
Yeah.
So it might be easier to have a slightly longer period of time.
I was thinking the same. I think we
Okay.
allow snow
Appreciate it.
fences anyway during the winter, right? For
Yeah.
purposes
Yeah.
of snow blowing and whatnot, so.
Yeah, and Lisa had noted that she will work with the building inspector, Jim, to make sure that the fence is secure and meets his requirements too.
Mhm.
We've been working with him as the project is getting inspected, so we've been in contact with him already to
Mhm.
make sure that it's kept tidy and secure.
Well, it's not clear to me that the 90 days is for the temporary fence, or the 90 days is to come up with a solution to what to do with the fence. Randy, maybe you could clarify what you meant.
Yeah, I had actually meant 90 days for both to, to get a solution to get the fence. I understand that the 90 days is maybe too short in this instance. I think you guys made some good points. I guess I'll ask the applicant what they feel would be an appropriate period of time.
Okay, thank you very much. So my thought, or our thought, was that because the ground is going to freeze in a few months, it will take a while to actually get the fence up, probably spring next year, because the ground is preparing to freeze. So we was looking to get a temporary fence set up so that for 6 to 8 months, so that we could get revenue running in and get the more appropriate fence for the safety of the kids.
Yeah, I think that was one of Lisa's issues is if we go for the chain link fence is less expensive. If you go with the more decorative fence, it's more expensive and she needs a few more months to generate revenue from having the kids in to put towards the cost of the more decorative fence.
Okay, thank you. Gretchen?
Oh, do I have my hand up? Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
didn't-
it looks like the compromise is that, 90 or 120 days, they come up with a solution. And is that what seemed like some good compromise, Bruce and John and Gretchen?
If Randy would go with 120 days, I would go with it.
Okay, okay.
I think 120 days is fine. It sounded like the applicant
Oh.
was asking for as much as 8 months.
Mhm.
And I'm okay with that as well. I think that the point is that it's not a permanent solution, and that we have a permanent solution that's acceptable to the staff and the plan commission in the future.
Okay,
Yes.
Okay. Mark,
we're
you have
going-
your hand up?
going with 120?
120 days is March 11th. The ground could still be frozen and it's hard to get a contractor there right off the bat. So
Right.
180 days or half a year would be May 11th. If they're asking for 8 months, that would be.
I thought we
July
just say that they can't put kids out there till the fence is up.
So why don't we just make it till June 1? That
Okay.
gets them
Okay.
basically 7 months. And
All right.
Sounds
I'll
good.
go with that.
So we
John,
can have
that's okay.
temporary fence until June 1 and then June 1, well, by then, I'm sure it won't take that long to come up with a solution. And then Lisa will have time to generate enough revenue for the cost of the fence and install it as a June 1.
And then we'll have
Okay.
a good daycare center, and that's good.
I
Yes.
think
Awesome.
it's
Okay.
I think this is a great compromise. So
Yes.
Mark, you still have your hand up? You have something more to say? Mark Opitz.
No, I'm sorry, I forgot to lower it.
Okay, all right. So the motion is to, the applicant will work with the staff and until then they can have a temporary fence up to June 1st. And then there will be a permanent fence. So all those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
To the applicants for your input and work with the staff and come up with some good solution, please. So
Thank you, guys. Good luck.
Thank you
glad
very,
to help you. It's a great thing. Daycares are needed, but the kid safety is very important. And
yes.
we have to make sure that we apply the rules uniformly. We can just pick and choose. So otherwise, it would not be a good thing. So, okay,
Thank
thank you. All right.
Hmm.
We are on to item number 2. Final plat, Bell Farms, 44 acres east of 4887 Parmenter Street. Abby,
Thank you. The representatives of this project are on the call. We have Kathleen Slattery Moshkow and her consultants, Bruce Holler and Jason Claypool, who are here to answer questions. On the final plat item, our staff recommends approval of the final plat contingent on resolution of engineering staff comments with a minor change to one of the plat restrictions that engineering was recommending. And this is just after consulting with our public lands department about how the city anticipates developing the public park in Bell Farm. We would also want to condition any approval on Public Works Committee review of the final plat, and that the final plat will not be taken to the Common Council for final approval until all of the contingencies from the preliminary plat are satisfied and that preliminary plat has final approval.
all right. So let's have some questions or comments from the commissioners. Well, to me, it looks very good. You know, I would say the Kathleen and her team, they have done a great job. It will be an excellent addition to the city of Middleton. So it looks really great. So but you know, there are some things that need to be worked out. So any questions or comments from the commissioners? Any questions or comments from the developer? Kathleen, do you want to say anything? All right. Randy Bruce got his hand up first. Randy, go ahead.
I guess I'd like to hear from the applicant, and then I've just got a couple of real quick comments.
Okay, Kathleen, you're up.
Hi, well, most of my comments were going to be related to the next agenda item on the SIP, but we're very excited to present this final plat for phase 1, which we feel like gives even phase 1 as a standalone phase really starts that sense of community. You get a little taste of everything, and it allows it to be a standalone community regardless of the timing of the other phases. So we're very excited about what's before you in terms of the final plat. And obviously we've been working, you know, closely with Public Works and, you know, different city staff on all elements of this project, but very excited to be here tonight.
Thank you, Kathleen. So Bruce, you have the questions, right? Go ahead, please.
The only comment I have regarding the plat had to do with the note regarding shared access along for the private road, I think, that runs and serves lots 2, 3, and then the narrow lots along Serenby Street there. I just wanted to make sure that when the documents came through regarding that private road and the access agreement, that we had provisions in there for continued maintenance of that roadway.
Okay. So Kathleen, I'm sure that's okay with you, right?
Yeah, and I'll let Bruce comment on that specifically.
Okay, Bruce, go ahead.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we hear you fine, Bruce.
Good, good. I had some trouble earlier today. So you're referring to, Randy, the private access road or the shared access on the south end of lot 3?
Correct.
Comes off of Parmenter?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So we've got that called out as an ingress egress easement for the benefit of lots 4 through 14, as well as, you know, 3, and we'll get that recorded. Well, that'll be recorded as part of the plat or the easement itself.
And Bruce, will the easement include provisions for continued maintenance, I assume?
Yeah, that'll have to, the easement itself, the verbiage in there will address that because it'll be some shared costs for maintenance of that.
Yeah, okay, that's what I want to make sure of.
Okay, any questions from other commissioners? Any questions or comments from other commissioners? Well, otherwise need a motion to approve with the contingencies listed here by the staff.
Schaefer will move. I want to see this keep going.
All right, need a second.
second.
All right, we are on the roll now. So, okay, further questions or comments?
This would be a motion to recommend that the common council approve the final plat.
Well, but it doesn't go to the common council until it goes to the public. It's a recommendation with these 3 things outlined by the staff: resolution of engineering, staff comments with a modification to the
Okay.
note
Yeah.
on the plat, public works committee review of the final plat, and final plat will not be taken with the common council for final approval until all the contingency of the preliminary plat are satisfied. It's with those 3 conditions.
Right. But ultimately, it's a recommendation to the common council to approve the final.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, once
Okay.
that was exactly how I said the memo.
Yes.
Or the
Yes.
motion,
Yes, great. Okay, any other questions or comments? I'm pretty pleased that, I know it took a long time, but it looks in great shape. Yeah, the Kathleen's team is really doing a great job. So, okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Well, motion passes. Kathleen, you are on the roll now. So, okay, we got the next item, which is also Kathleen's. How about that? So this is the item number 3. This is the specific implementation plan, SIP phase 1, Bell Farms, 44 acres east of 4887 Parmenter Street. Abby, this is your thing.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is the SIP for phase 1 of Bell Farm. This is the second step in the rezoning process. And I do have one amendment to the staff recommendation. So we had recommended approval of the SIP contingent on final approval of the preliminary plat, final approval of the final plat, approval of a city developer agreement, which we are hoping we will have for your 11/22 Plan Commission agenda, approval of covenants for the development, satisfaction of the remaining GIP contingencies that were made when the council approved the GIP on 12/7, and then resolution of engineering staff recommendations. My additional note is that our Public Works Director has asked that any SIP approval this evening would only pertain to the private development and the private land uses, but not to the rights of way or the street design, because there's still some work that's being done with the applicant on the street design, street lighting, and street trees. So we're not ready to recommend any approval of what happens within the right of way yet.
Oh, well, Abby, that does make sense. Okay, any questions or comments now? This is, okay, John, please go ahead.
Yeah, just directed to Abby mostly. If there's still issues with what will happen on the street, will that have a potential impact on what will happen on the non-street part? And should we be really deciding these as 2 separate parts, or should we wait until the street issue is resolved? I mean, we kind of lock it in. If we do this part and not the streets, then you hamper you.
Yeah, I think that we have the right of way widths worked out. That I think is pretty well resolved. It's more a matter of the details about any on-street parking, what the cross section of the roadway looks like. I think we have most of that worked out, but it's just there are some remaining details that the Public Works Committee still needs to review with regard to the roadways.
But it's not issues of width of road or any of that in terms of the amount of land dedicated to that.
Right, that's correct.
All right, thank you.
So Abby, in your mind, if we approve with the conditions that you have here, so it should be just fine, right?
Yes, that's my recommendation is with these conditions, and then also just to state that it applies only to the private development and the land uses, but it doesn't apply to the road design, which is still being worked out.
Yeah, I went through, this is a long document. There's a playground there or play areas there for the children, which I was very happy to see. My main question would be that, I call them learning center. There's so much of the various community facilities there. If there will be, for small kids, sort of some small learning center of sort, Kathleen, or I'm sure you will be excited about, providing something to the young kids because our public library is downtown so far away. So I'm asking, when there are larger developments like this one, and you are doing a phenomenal job, you have so many things there going for you. It's simply awesome. So, but having some sort of a learning center or a small space with books or things, what do you think about it? I know we don't want to add to your cost, but that would really add to the value of your whole project.
To be clear, in phase 2, we have a daycare planned for phase 2. So there will be a much, more robust option for kids. And in this first phase, we have that area of the courtyard, but I don't think there's any reason why we can't, in the dedicated space that's for the, somewhere within the lounge area of building number 1 of the rows, to carve out a little room that could be like a playroom or something that could be like a fun, place with books and that sort of thing. But the bigger portion that's going to be geared more toward children is coming in phase 2 and will be part of the multifamily buildings that sit on lot number 1.
Well, that's excellent because you are a pioneer. What you're doing is in terms of sustainability is great. But, there will be a lot of kids over there and we want to provide the kids all opportunity for learning. Well, a lot of people living here will be well off. They will have a lot of books, but hopefully there will be affordable units as well. So there will be people who won't have the same level of access which maybe your kids or my kids or other kids did. So I think I'm very sensitive in terms of equity issues that, we have to think about those who don't have it. Right. And the only way to bring them up is that good education. So
absolutely.
Thank you. So I'm glad to hear that in phase 2, there will be some robust thing and some small thing here. So John Schaefer, John, you have your hand up.
Well, just to reiterate, you're talking about lot 1 with the multifamily things. And of course, you have given that chunk of land for the parks, which we're very, very happy about. And that will come. So I think that much of that is resolved and that park actually locates itself next to an area where we're more likely to have kids. I did want to just one acknowledgement and then a question. The acknowledgement, I think it's really nice that your phase 1 includes many different kinds of structures. And so you really do, as you said, you have a taste of the whole development in part 1 where you could have done just the high rises in this. I think I just want to thank you for that. I think it's very good. Number 2, just looking at the plan, you got the private Serenby Street and the loop at the bottom for fire access and fire turnaround and stuff is not included in this. Is that going to be an issue with that street?
I mean, I'll defer that question to Bruce.
Yeah.
Bruce,
are you referring to the very south end of Serenby with the turnaround?
Yeah, the turnaround for utility emergency vehicles and things that's not really in what you're showing for for one. Can you build that street without putting that loop on there until later?
Well, we're putting a temporary turnaround right at the phase line of that of Serenby Street there. So yeah, right there is where there's gonna be a temporary turnaround, and that'll go away once Serenby is extended.
All right, but it's there for the first phase. That's all I was worried about.
Yeah.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Wow, Bruce, you have thought of everything before even John came up with this. This is great. Well, I like what I have seen. Randy, Bruce, and then Gretchen.
Thank you. I just a couple things. I want to start off just by commending the applicant and her team for the great work that they've done. It's an exciting project. I can't wait to see it progress. I think it's really going to be quite an asset for the city. So thank you very much for bringing it forward in its current condition. There just a couple of things that you're in process with right now that I think we probably ought to have staff or plan commission review prior to their finalization. Your design guidelines and what you talked about in your letter sounded great, but if we're going to have design guidelines, I guess we ought to have that document for review by either staff and or plan commission. Mm-hmm. And the same goes with the material selections. They look like good high quality materials, but just as a matter of practice, I think we ought to be reviewing what those materials are. If we could get more specific selection information, that would be great. And then one final comment has to do with the multi-use path that you label, the applicant labels as a boardwalk. And knowing that the city, I think, has called it out as a asphalt path. I think that boardwalk or path is an important feature as it comes off of Parmenter Street and crosses through along in front of the commercial or multifamily pieces, mixed use pieces there. And I'd want the applicant to have some flexibility, and I'd encourage the city to work with the applicant to come up with a surface and a coloring or texture or whatever that complements their design. That's all my comments. Thank you.
And I agree with you, Bruce. So great team, great job, and looks really good. So, and I think those two comments that you have are right on dot. So, Bruce or Kathleen, you want to respond, or you're happy with the comments?
Yeah, no, I in terms of, I'll work my way backwards. Yes, we definitely want the boardwalk to stand out. We just haven't landed on the material to present to the city yet, or the final look of that. We'll be working closely with Psyche on that. And in a perfect world, I mean, we have it bid out as pervious, and that would be our goal. You know, there's sometimes some issues to consider with pervious that go beyond cost. So we're still working through the details of what that will be. And I'm happy to have that be, you know, something that the city gives their final blessing on, because I think it's going to be I think the boardwalk's not only going to be an asset for Bell Farm, but I think the extended community. So I want to make sure everybody is good with what we choose. And it's not our intent to have that be asphalt. So I'll just, I'll leave that comment there. I'll come back to the materials comment in a moment. Our attorneys right now are currently working on the covenants that will include the language that you see in the letter of intent regarding the design guidelines. So the attorneys are currently working through those covenants, so they will be woven right into the covenants, which of course the city can look at, and or city staff, or however you guys want to work it, that you guys, it can be you guys can weigh in and make sure that we're covering all the things that are important for the city, and that you can see that we're, with our covenants, using our covenants to stay true to what we're trying to design and provide and build here. Regarding materials, Randy, do you, I guess my question for you is, at what point would you want to see the materials? I think for some of the material samples, I was talking to my architects earlier today, and maybe Jason can weigh in if there's anything additional to say, but it sounds like for them to pull together the specific material boards would probably not be till like the first or second week in January, just because as we start to head into the holidays and some of just pulling together those boards, but or if it would be closer toward when we pull the building permits, or obviously you'd probably want to see it before then, but I guess I'm asking, what's your time frame, and are you okay if it's into the first of the year?
I guess I'm going to leave that up to staff in terms of what trigger points make sense to them. So maybe Abby, you have some suggestions on what makes sense.
Well, they would definitely want to be brought back before you're ready to apply for your permit, because we wouldn't, at that point, we want to make sure we're not holding you up on anything.
Absolutely. Mhm.
We did with the aviary Trasta project. I was recalling that earlier today, and this happened before the pandemic when we were fully in person with Plan Commission meetings, and I recall that the Plan Commission approved the SIP contingent on the applicant bringing back their material samples for an in-person meeting to be reviewed. And actually, I think that on that project, it was both the Plan Commission and the Common Council that looked at the material samples. I don't think that we need to go that route with this project, but if you wanted to add an additional contingency on the SIP that the applicant would bring back the material samples to an in-person meeting as soon as they're available or something like that, we would just want Kathleen, you and your team to remember that you need to do that, because when it comes time to pull a building permit, we go back through all of the minutes and we make sure that all those contingencies are satisfied, and we don't want to hold you up when you're, ready to start construction.
Yeah, I've already alerted the architects. I saw the message come in earlier today, and I alerted the architects. So it would already be in motion. It's just a matter of some time to pull it together.
Okay.
And I think you'll love it, because if I love it, I'm very picky.
Yeah. Yes,
I'm sure I will.
So Randy and Abby and others, that's okay. I think that makes sense. So I don't see any problem. Do you?
Yeah.
I'm very good with that. Yeah.
Okay, John, you're okay too?
Yeah, I'm fine, but Gretchen has her
Okay.
hand up. I want to.
Yes. Gretchen, your time.
You're muted, Gretchen.
Sorry. My comment is on a different issue, so if there's more to discuss on this, please continue.
Oh, one
Or if we're
that's-
done on that, then
Yeah, go on.
so I do recall when we were looking at this originally, that we were talking about the concept phase, or in the concept discussion, we were talking about a European concept and reducing our reliance on automobiles and making it very pedestrian friendly. And while I see that we've incorporated a lot of pedestrian friendly features, I don't see a lot for the residents of this community to actually walk to. So some things that would be helpful for the community to reduce their reliance on automobiles to leave the community once they got home would be having a dog park area where residents don't need to get in their cars and drive out to Highway M to exercise their dogs, where they can do that when they take their kids to the park. Could there be a dog run area, even if it's small, that they don't have to get in their cars again? That's comment one. And then comment two would be, it would be lovely to see developers start to incorporate the idea of like trying to bring in a small grocery store, pharmacy, something that actually meets like the sort of small daily needs that people can just walk to mean, when I go up to Door County, there's little general stores in every single community. And when you need to go to the big grocery store and get your toilet paper and laundry detergent and whatnot, you can do that. But oftentimes you can meet your needs just by walking to a local store. When I lived on the east side, it was wonderful because I would see all of my neighbors on the way walking to Jenny Street Market. And that's actually how I got to know my neighbors and build community there. And while I walk to the grocery store here, I don't have that kind of sense of community because we don't have like a small store within our neighborhood. It would be lovely if that European concept that you're trying to bring in actually incorporated some of the things that create sort of that quality of life that people really are drawn to about Europe, right? So if you add the architecture and you add beautiful boardwalks and park spaces, then why not also have some more outdoor cafes and small grocery stores and a pharmacy? So as you continue thinking about phase one, phase two, think about maybe incorporating some of these things that make it, you know, one of these 15-minute community type concepts where people don't need to get in their car and leave again.
Yeah, Gretchen, I'm so glad you brought that up. I just returned from LA on Sunday night, Los Angeles, and it's a reminder of like the importance of walkability, but walkability to somewhere, right?
Yeah.
That you can actually like meet your daily needs. That's a whole nother story, that trip to LA, but it was a huge reminder about that. And if you look at the SIP letter, I think in the SIP letter of intent, if I remember right, I listed all the things that are coming in the other phases. So there is a small grocer planned, there's a daycare planned, there are live works, which we're really hoping to get an independent pharmacy in there. I'm really tried to stop and think of like, what are all the things that you have that, you know, we have to jump in our car to go do, and instead, include them in, and I can't remember if it's in this letter, if it was in the GIP letter, but let's see if it's listed out. But if you go back, if it's not in this one, if you go back to the GIP letter, it might not be in this one. If you go back to the GIP letter, you can see that in future phases, I think phase 2 and phase 3 brings almost everything in. So there will be the grocer, the live works, which again, we're hoping to have a vet and a pharmacy. The daycare will be in phase 2. There were some other things that I was thinking about, but it is very specifically planned out. We just couldn't do everything in phase 1. So hopefully, hopefully as we move through getting phase 1 up and running, phase 2 will become, depending on obviously what's going on with the economy and everything, but hopefully, phase 2 will really help round everything out, and all those things that you're mentioning, but which I agree with you are so critical, will be right there for everyone.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I have seen that there's even yoga studio coming, there's a dance studio coming, there is going to be a lot of that stuff. So, yeah.
So Gretchen, right across the street from the Bluebird Cafe, the coffee shop, is where the small grocer. So it kind of mirrors, it's the building right across the street. So on the ground level will be like the grocery store with dwelling units above it.
Yeah, all of it makes more sense to bring in once there are some people there. So I understand it.
Yeah,
it's phased. I just want to make sure we don't lose sight of the broad concept when we work out the details,
Oh, so here's the here's a list to, as one of the lists we were working with, but for sure that building across from the one that I'm specifically flagged for the grocer will be across the street from the coffee shop, across Bellefontaine.
Nice.
Yeah, excellent points, Gretchen. I think you're right on target, and Kathleen, super duper. Any questions or comments from the other commissioners? John Schaefer, please go ahead.
I would just go along with Gretchen's comments after spending 3 weeks in Porto and Barcelona, and 3 times needing a pharmacy, and never had to go more than 2 blocks to find a pharmacy. Yeah. They were tiny, but they took care of those needs. And it was just, I used to think the local grocery store was important, but the pharmacy is amazing how many people needs pharmacy. So I know you're going that way, and I've appreciated it, but I just want to reinforce what Gretchen's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, mature and wise people always need pharmacy, John, right?
Yeah. Cold medicine,
Yes.
Well,
anything from Chris Harp or Mike Slavish? You have a chance now.
Looks good.
Okay.
Looks
You're
good for me
happy?
too, Mayor.
Okay, so you both are happy then. All
Yep.
right, now I think it's time to make some motion here.
Well,
Well-
for the same reason I moved on the last one, I want to see this going. I'll move on this, including the recommendations of staff, plus the contingency that at some point we see materials. However you want to add that in and move that. I don't doubt you will do that. It's been great working, Kathleen, with you and your team, because you always come through. So, but I make that motion.
Okay, I will go ahead and second it, and that motion includes the
Yep.
comments by the Public Works Director and
Yep. I can review it, Mayor, if you'd like. I have it typed here. So in addition to
Okay.
the comments, that were included in the staff recommendation, I've suggested 2 bullets based on the discussion I've heard. And those bullets are that this SIP approval would only pertain to the private development and land uses, but not to the rights of way or the street design, so that staff has more time to work with the applicant on resolving a few outstanding issues. And then the second one is the applicant is to provide building material samples at a future meeting.
Mark, you did such a phenomenal job. So that's great. Okay, any further questions or comments from the commissioners or from the developer? Any questions or comments? This is your time. This is your time. Anyone? So before we vote, is everybody all happy? Okay, then all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Well, motion passes unanimously. How about that? I'm sure Kathleen and Bruce and everyone are happy here. So Kathleen, our team. Well, you know what? This is our last item. So unless somebody has to tell the story from Barcelona or somewhere else,
Pharmacies.
pharmacies need a
I was
motion.
recently in Finland and that really topped everything and that was amazing.
Well, then I guess if there are no more stories, then need a motion to adjourn.
I will move to adjourn.
Need a second.
Harp second.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion to adjourn say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Those who are opposed, they stay back here. So, okay, the
All right.
motion passes unanimously. And Kathleen, go ahead and do these great things you want to do.
Yeah.
So,
Have a good night, all.
Yeah.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
Aye.
Good night.